clock's back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school. MTV playing our favorite jams, moonwalking with MJ, neon slam. Ghostbusters gear, we're ready to go, chasing slasher scenes, fears in tow. Back to the future, hop in the DeLorean. Knight Rider cruising, man, there's no ignoring them. Battlestar Galactica, what a ride. Looney Tunes antics, pure joy inside. Blockbusters ruled, we lined up for days. Video games booted up in the pixelated maze. Movie marathons and popcorn nights, we ruled the screen, living in the lights. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school. Grab your joystick, the game's about to start. A high score world, now that's an art. We're cruising on hoverboards, living our dream. Old school forever, we're igniting the scene. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school.
Today's episode is brought to you by PTZ Optics. Disability upgrade. New Wave Toys and their Replicate Amusements products. GG Retrobox. Get 3 to 5 games from your favorite series, consoles, and game genres delivered to your doorstep every month with GG Retrobox, the ultimate retro gaming subscription box for video game enthusiasts. Use code GRS15 at checkout to get 15% off your first box. And
Boom shakalaka! Hey everybody, it's Tim Kitzer here, the voice of some of your favorite video games like NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. And I'm here to talk to you about Old School Gamer Magazine. It's the magazine for retro gaming, and it's exploding. Kaboom! Print issues come out every other month, and if you want to go green, digital options are available. Visit oldschoolgamer.com and subscribe now. That's oldschoolgamer.com. Boom shakalaka! Kaboom!
They might be messing with us. Testing. I think it's where. All right, there we go. I think we got it now. They'll give me a thumbs up now. Glenn needs to invest in a soundboard system we can actually. He's talking. I have it in front of me. I tested. It's a jinx. It is just a jinx, so you guys know that it's me and not AI. Audio is way too low. They're saying. So let me see if I can crank that up a little bit, and we'll max that out like that. There we go. See if that's
For those
better.
of us that can hear us, thank you so much for the feedback, so we know it's not working.
Yes. Okay, there we go. Friday Night Jinx. Again, people know when you get audio working from the get-go, you know you're in the matrix, you know you've been put into the computer's brain, and it's no longer me. So I'm helping you guys know that you're in reality still. All right, so we are good now. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on kicking it old school. I'm losing my mind tonight because I'm really excited. We have the team from R-Cade here, and that's the R-Cade OS. They've been working with us now for quite some time on the Viper project that we have already out. But now we'll be talking a little bit about the FU and the Kickstarter, and they're working on the next version, the Viper Venom, and the new version of the R-Cade OS. So I have with me Cowboy and Adam. Now, Adam, you've been on here before, but Cowboy is new. But for people for the first time joining, tell us a little bit about yourself, Adam.
Well, hi everybody. First off, can you hear me? Let me see a thumbs up if you can hear me. Anybody? Okay, I'm assuming you can hear me because nobody's saying they can't. Yeah, so I am the guy who kind of started R-Cade. As far as me, I'm a family man. Top priority, of course, is wife and kids, two boys. Oldest is 9, youngest is 6. So life is busy all around right now. I see all the thumbs up coming in now, and appreciate that, everybody. But yeah, if you have issues or questions about the R-Cade software itself, I'm kind of the guy behind the scenes to answer those questions and try to get the job done, the fixes in place. Super excited about how it continues to grow. I love the community. If you haven't yet joined, I encourage you to join the Discord community. Lots of folks on there talking about lots of different topics, and submitting from game packs to themes, all of which can get pulled directly into R-Cade. So a lot of fun stuff.
And we have the Cowboy with us as well today. Cowboy, tell us about yourself and how you're involved with R-Cade.
Yeah, so I met Adam here on doing some work and just kind of contributed to R-Cade, a little bit here and there. And then we kind of got to chatting a little more, and I kind of broke into one of the Yak Games systems and helped with some of that. And it kind of just evolved from there. So we ported, R-Cade to run on a lot of the Yak Games Legends devices. And that's where we got started. And from there, we decided, it'd be kind of cool to build our own board and put R-Cade OS on there and just kind of do our own thing and do it better than everybody else. And that kind of got us started in these side projects, which is now turning into, an actual product. For me, I'm, a similar idea. I'm all about family life, but I've got a lot of experience doing all sorts of different types of, software and hardware dev. So I kind of got into the hacking realm for a little while, and I'm just kind of at the point where it's great to have some of these fun side projects that you can see the fruits of your labor in.
So I kind of jumped the gun here a lot of times. Normally I go through all the people. Guys, I'm sorry about that. Normally I go through and welcome everyone here, but I'm not going to do that today because we have a lot of stuff we want to cover here with the R-Cade team. Now, one person was supposed to be here as well, Jeff. Unfortunately, Jeff is under the weather today, so he won't be joining us. So hopefully, Jeff, you feel better. And next time, we'll get him on. We'll get him on one of these times. He was out last time too. He was on vacation, but we'll try and get him on one of these times. So a couple things I want to talk about real quick here is, so when T-Sticks and GRS were originally doing the 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade, we always wanted to do our own SBC, and we did develop our own, and that's the standard Viper that we have out right now. It's the RK3566 chipset, and originally it was going to run just Batacera. That was the original goal, but we're having a lot of small issues with it, optimizations, getting certain things to work. And then I was out in the Cleveland Gaming Classic, and Jeff, who has not been here, ran into me and started talking to me a little bit about how they have this program operating system called R-Cade, which is still built off of Emulation Station and ports. You get into more of that than I'll get into. And we decided to go with that. And I'm going to admit, from my standpoint. If anyone's used R-Cade on the At Games Legends, because you can run it on that, or if you have a Viper and you're running it on that, I love it. It's now my direct go-to because it has a lot of built-in features, which we'll get into a little bit today. But when we were going to our next step, we were always saying that the Viper was our first level, and that was basically for the 1/6 scale, like a Raspberry Pi 3 type of SBC. But we always knew we were going to come out with a more powerful one, so we were always going to go to the R-Cade 3588, and we were developing our own. However, in talking with Adam and Jeff, and now with Cowboy, um, they were working on one as well. So it made sense for us to go, you know what? Why have two different teams trying doing the same thing? They're a partner, and I've always said from day one, I'm never going to step on other people's toes. I'd rather work with someone if they're doing something already. So the Viper Venom that is out today, which I have here, I can bring it up in a moment, which is even smaller than our Viper. It's actually the size roughly of a regular Raspberry Pi device, but many times more powerful. So Adam, why don't you go into, and Cowboy, you guys go into a little bit how you guys were designing this anyway, and we kind of collaborated from there.
Cowboy, you want to kind of start the conversation only because like you were innately involved in the conversation behind the hardware, and I want to make sure I get credit where it's due.
Yeah, I had some contacts and we had been working on some other SBCs. And so, the idea was, hey, let's build us an R-Cade 3588. Powered R-Cade is what we really wanted to do. And Jeff and I started that conversation and we were looking around at different options. We grabbed some orange pies and just kind of played with those and got started. And then after we were playing with R-Cade a little bit more, we started pestering Adam here about, hey, we need to port this sucker over to the 3588, which meant migrating his whole entire OS up a whole bunch of versions to newer kernels so that we could get support for that. And I think just over time, we started looking at different options, what's out there, what could we have made versus, what could we buy off the shelf. And we decided we kind of wanted something a little more modular that we could customize and make more, more tailored to these boards, these cabinets. So we went down that route, and then we ended up porting R-Cade OS to it, and then that's where we're at right at the moment.
No,
Now,
that's a great summary in general. The At Games devices were a real good entry point to a lot of things, and we started off with what was known as the BSP kernel, which was only version 4.4, and then like Cowboy referenced, we had to upgrade that to a much more modern version in order to support the newer chipsets, which was a large lift because when you change a kernel, I mean, the kernel, for those of you that aren't super technical, is the guts of the operating system that tell all of the software how to talk to the hardware, right? So it is the underbelly, the drivers itself. And when you swap those, it's a big lift. And there's a lot of things that aren't directly compatible. Plus, there's drivers from the old 4.4 that aren't in mainline and vice versa. So lots of porting around and checking the code and updating the code manually and patching things. So it was a large lift, but we got there. And we're super excited to see how it's running. So now the 3588, as well as, of course, the 3566 is supported by R-Cade and pretty much fully featured.
now I'm going to go through the chat. If you do have some questions, do put it down in the chat. I'm going to go through. I'm going to put them aside and ask them in a few minutes. But what made you guys decide to really go with the R-Cade chipset? Because obviously, there's Raspberry Pis on different chips. So what honed in on the R-Cade chipset for you guys?
You mean the Rock chip?
The Rock chip, correct?
Yeah, so we went with Rock chip because I was already familiar with it and Adam was already familiar with it. Also, we got the idea originally that At Games was going to release a new board that was R-Cade 3588 based. And we looked around out there and there just wasn't anything in comparison as far as ARM-based affordable chipsets. Like we looked at Allwinner and some of the other brands, and honestly, Rock chip was our favorite. So that's what we went with.
Now,
So the
ahead,
R in R-Cade was actually originally intended to stand for Rock Chip, the Rock Chip R-Cade, for when it was initially kind of thrown around for the ideas for what that meant, because the intent was for R-Cade to be that niche where this is tuned and optimized for all things Rock Chip, as opposed to the competitors that run on everything, right? x86 and all these other chipsets. And I would never diss any of those competitors because each of them are fantastic in their own ways. And they're awesome. I've worked with a lot of them. I've contributed to other code bases for that matter. But it's just something very different.
And one thing in my research, and we were looking at the R-Cade chipsets and then the R-Cade 3588 was, comparing the processor, memory, bandwidth, everything, and even a custom arcade who is in the chat came to the same conclusion that is a fact, is that the 3588 chipset, memory architecture, the GPU, everything is more powerful than the current Raspberry Pi 5. So we have a lot more wiggle room with performance and getting other emulators going. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to have every single emulator under the sun initially, but we do plan on adding new emulators. I'll let you guys take that part of it.
Absolutely right. In fact, this upcoming version, which I had hoped to have out this week, but I'm spending some time to just kind of tweak a few things before I get it out. But it's if not this weekend, then early next week at the very latest. So it's on its way. I saw a few folks ask in chat, so I wanted to make sure I addressed that. It is on its way. It'll be out soon. Version 206 does include a couple of additional emulators. Both GameCube as well as Nintendo Wii have been added to the repertoire. The next ones to investigate for version 207 will be PS2 and maybe a few others. Glenn has asked specifically for stuff such as, I think it was off the top of I got a list.
3DO was the first one I asked for.
So I updated a couple of those too, so they'll run much faster. Both 3DO and NDS, I've got newer tweaks, a couple more optimizations involved, so those will perform much better. As will, I had a recent request to review the performance for one of the Amiga cores that got updated as well. A number of things got updated across the board. So improved in performance, and every iteration is new. This next release will also include yet another kernel bump from 6.8 to 6.14. So the more newer, the better the performance, the more compatibility we get across the board. We will consider looking at Nintendo Switch, but with Nintendo being so Nintendo, it might be a little bit of a sticky subject to have that built in.
Right, I can agree with you on that. Now, a couple quick questions that did come in the chat. One was from Meatball Saucy. He's a regular here, so hello again to Meatball Saucy. Chris Core's question was about the light gun. So obviously Sinden guns are light guns are supported. I think Wii remotes could be used as a light gun. Is that correct? Now, aside
Absolutely.
from those two, what other light guns are supported natively in R-Cade at this time?
Right now, plug and play should include aim track, Sinden. The Wiimotes should also be plug and play, as well as retro shooters. And there's another one, Gun for IR, I believe. I think those all should be built in, just plug and play. As soon as you get them, R-Cade should recognize the driver. It should load them up, and they should immediately start working. Now, I should mention that Sinden doesn't require any additional accessories. That's why that literally is plug and play. And GRS has a fantastic shotgun that is a Sinden-based shotgun that is plug and play. As soon as you plug it in, it'll take anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds for everything to get set up in the background. And then a nice white border will show around the outside of the screen. And that's what the Sinden uses to track, to figure out what you're pointing at on the screen. There are some config.
Is your Vimo still the same? I can send you the money now.
What's that?
Adam, is your Vimo number the same, so I can send you the money for that, plug for the Sinden?
No, just saying. I recommend it.
Thank you.
It is, Sinden's a great product, and so is that GRS shotgun. And I'll say that without any extra accessories, it's plug and play, so it works really well. The others, like a Wiimote or an aim track or a retro shooter or a gun for IR, they all use different versions of the IR technology. So what they'll do is they will basically triangulate where those points are and then send that signal to the gun, which then tells the computer, where am I pointing on the screen? It basically is functioning like a mouse, only instead of a mouse pad and a laser, it's functioning based off those IR dots. It's telling the computer where it's pointed on the screen instead. So that's behind the scenes. That's how that functions.
And just so you all know as well, built in already in R-Cade is spinner support, trackball support. So that stuff's already built in as well. The GRS TOS gate switchers support is built in. Al Link's Pixel-Cade support is built in. Anything else, Adam or Cowboy, that's built in? That's like a third-party accessory like that you can talk about?
bit LCD as one as well. So there's two different types of LCD screens. You'll actually see one behind me. That's the Pixel-Cade on top of my AtGames, and that one is again that's plug and play. And differently, the bit LCD, and there's a competitor. Cowboy, what's the other name of that? It's a bit LCD, and there's one other name it's called. Do you remember?
There's Bit Pixel,
That
and
must be
then
what-
Pixel-Cade. So
Yeah.
the Bit Pixel is the AtGames version of Pixel-Cade. Those are supported, as well as the Bit LCD, which I don't know that there's an alternative to that one.
I swear there was a it doesn't matter nonetheless. Pixel-Cade LCD maybe is what it's called. But
could be.
I see that in chat there. Kesselm Arcade just added the comment there, so that makes sense. But they're all plug and play as well for the additional accessories. I'll also say that from the software perspective, if you're not installing this on an arcade cabinet and you're installing this on a single board computer, there is a retro gaming themed case that is also plug and play. It'll figure it out right away, called Rochambeau from Pine 64. It also happens to use the exact same GPIO pinouts as a case that's no longer manufactured. So if you're the lucky owner of an old Kintaro SNES case, those are also plug and play. I also have one right here. That's one of my go-to little cases. I think they're cute as hell. But because the buttons actually work on it, as soon as you connect the device, turn on Arcade, it figures out what it's plugged into and starts working, as long as it's compatible SBC.
Awesome. Another question. This one's from the Be Me, again, a regular here on the channel. Why did you decide to work with Glenn's Retro Show? There are a lot of options to choose from, but Glenn's a good choice. But why did you choose this?
Glenn is a great choice. And after talking to Glenn, I realized that this guy is for real, right? You have a lot of people that will talk about, I want to do this, I want to do that. And Glenn doesn't just want to do that. He goes out and gets it done. But more importantly, he doesn't get it done to try to be a billionaire or to make a huge money. He does it for the community. He genuinely cares about the community involvement, the community experience. And that is something that spoke volumes to me. And that was an immediate, I want to be in business with this GRS team.
We all want to be poor. That's kind of what Glenn can't even fix his basement yet. But that's the real thing. Now the hope, honestly, here is that we don't make a lot of money initially, but hopefully people buy more and it gets out and more people, and then we get it along those lines. So we want to make sure you guys can eat. Cowboy can eat. Adam can eat. I don't need to eat. I'm fine. But there are people and families. It's a labor of love to one point. I mean, you guys have to be putting a lot of hours into designing the electronics, testing the electronics, and then the operating system on top of that. I mean, we do our stuff that we're good at with the controllers and obviously the casing and stuff like that. But when you're getting into designing a single board computer, you got to debug it. You got to get the best performance out of it. You got to make sure that it can handle people like me handling it, not always using the proper anti-static. So how much time do you guys put in on this? I mean, I think you both have regular jobs, right? Like I do.
Yeah, this is not my full-time gig. My full-time gig is I'm a manager over a team of software developers. And so that's my primary gig. I don't do hands-on coding for my primary employee anymore. I used to. I've been in IT for 25 years. So I've had I have had my hands in a little bit of all things IT at some point. But this is very, very much a passion project. And to Glenn's point, we're not getting rich off of this. We are doing this because we genuinely love to do this. This is something that we like to do. We have a little extra cash on the side from it, enough to take our spouses out to dinner kind of thing. So
Another question real quick from RM McCray 114, again, a regular on the channel. He was saying, I didn't notice this myself, but he goes, hopefully the Bluetooth connection will be fixed in the next update. Have you guys had any notes of issues with Bluetooth controllers or?
I have not had a direct issue reported as far as Bluetooth connectivity being an issue, but I will say that with every version, I improve compatibility with Bluetooth. Maybe he's referring to Bluetooth audio. That was a relatively recent feature addition.
I was going to ask you that. So Bluetooth audio will be supported in R-Cade.
It already is, but it's a little iffy because it was a brand new addition. It worked, but in many boards it wasn't optimized. So for example, if I was trying to use Wi-Fi and Bluetooth at the same time, some boards will share the 2.4 gigahertz channel for both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So they suffer painfully. I have bent over backwards to the point of actually changing the Wi-Fi firmware and actually modifying it myself to try to optimize the both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity sharing of that channel. And I've made a lot of great progress there. So there will be enhancements to that, as well as some tweaks to how Bluetooth is paired and how that pairing process functions. So it will be improved over the course of time. That being said, if anybody does know of a glitch, please put a issue into our GitHub to help us track it. You know, that's the only way we know that you're experiencing a problem. You're also welcome to join our Discord and just throw it out there in one of our channels and say, hey, I've got this problem. Has anybody seen this before? The community is extremely active and extremely helpful, and I'm on there multiple times a day.
You definitely are, because I've had some stupid issues. I mean, usually they're my problems, and Adam's like, Glenn, you didn't do this, or go. But there have been a couple of things we've seen. I think the biggest one I saw was I loaded, 114,000 Commodore 64 games into one directory. And it was taking a long time. I'm like, Glenn, why do you have so many games in that directory? But he did. He optimized it, went back. He saw what it was, and he optimized it, and he got it down from literally taking like 10 minutes to about a minute, which I think's pretty good for having like 114,000 games in a folder.
Glenn, that was actually a really big surprise, where you were telling me that I'm trying to open this and it's taking forever to open. I've never seen that happen before. Send me what you're doing. It's like, what? He had one game in every folder. So every game had its own folder, and there were 100,000 games. So the system was trying to index 100,000 folders with 100,000 games with one game in every folder, and it just didn't know what to do with itself. I ended up having to rewrite the entire parser mechanism to try to optimize how that whole thing worked. And at the end of the day,
It made it better.
Glenn is responsible for a massive improvement in performance there. That's really what the long story, the short version.
I made it a nightmare though for him. It was a nightmare for him, though. I know it was. But
It was a great fix. I'm glad you found it.
But that is a good thing as well, because, personally, over the years, we've always been reaching out to a lot of developers to try and work on a hardware side to go along with our controllers and everything else. So this R-Cade really, and you guys helped make this an all-inclusive system, but some people didn't want to work with it. Some people didn't want to do custom work. Some people just didn't have the time or care, where Cowboy, Adam, Jeff are very responsive. And that's kind of why we work together really well. We listen to people. We don't shut them out. If someone has an idea, or we don't take it personally, but we look at it and say, okay, maybe this is an issue. Let's take a look at it. And if so, make a repair. And that's what's really one of the beautiful things about the R-Cade team, is they are big enough to fix the problems, but not so big where they're not listening to the people reporting the problems and giving it some personal attention. It's not just a number in the back. We'll get to it someday. If it's a reported issue, it gets looked at relatively quickly, and it may not be fixed today, but it'll be fixed potentially in the next, release. So that's a really good thing to think about as well, about the FU, the 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade, the Viper, and the upcoming Viper Venom, is the team actually listens to the people. And that's been my biggest problem with a lot of other companies I've been working with over the years, is they start off kind of that way, and then they slowly stop, or they regress. And me personally, that's not how I am. I operate as in, I want to be treated a certain way, and I know Adam, Jeff, and Cowboy are that way as well. So that's just something else to think about when you're contemplating running your operating system or running the SBC or running what you want, is the people behind it are just as important as the item itself. Just want to throw that out there. There was another question that came in from John Ryan. Can you speak to the MAME version? And he said Synergy.
Off the top of my head, no. I can't tell you the exact name version. I want to say the last time, hey, look, it's Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Also known as a custom arcade. Can you hear us?
Oh no, you snuck in there. Hold on, I'll get you added. Keep going. There you are. All right, I'll get you added. Keep going. I'll fix this.
Sorry, everybody. For those of you who can't see, we invited.
You saw him before I did.
And he popped up on my screen, and I thought he popped into everybody's screen. So I apologize. He's not on everybody's screen, but he will be. In any event, I can't speak to the exact name version without actually looking at the OS code and saying this is the package what it's pulling from. I can say that there's lots of versions of MAME included. So we've included MAME 2003 Plus, which includes a substantial amount of backported compatibility. Now, you hear in your head 2003 Plus, that's an old version, but it's actually kind of misleading because it's a great trade-off between performance and compatibility. So the older the version back in 2003, you had great performance from MAME emulation. The problem is the newer version added so much compatibility with all these newer games that and additional features and additional functionality that it slowed things down quite a bit, and it takes a very large performance hit on the newer versions of MAME. 2003 Plus is a version of MAME where they have backported a ton of fixes and compatibility for a ton of games without sacrificing performance. So you will still end up with some games that won't run on MAME 2003 Plus on that version, which is the default MAME core for that system. But hit the select button, go to game or system options, and just change the core for what you want to run that game on. If it's a newer game that isn't compatible with MAME 2003, R-Cade will remember that selection, and from that point forward, that game will run with whatever core you've selected. So it includes MAME 2003, 2003 Plus, 2010, 2015. I think it includes 2016. It also includes HB MAME, which is homebrew MAME. There are certain games that aren't compatible with the actual MAME core. Off the top of my head, there was a version of Pac-Man that was actually Cookie Monster eating cookies instead of Pac-Man, and that's a homebrew game that won't run correctly on the actual MAME versions, but it will run on HB MAMEs or for homebrew MAME. So all of those are included off the top of my head anyways, and should hopefully allow for enough flexibility to make them work. And yes, I see in chat there, FB Neo is also included too. That is absolutely correct. Audio yet? Can
Yep.
everybody hear him talking?
He should be good now.
Okay.
Keep talking, Jeff.
Except for now, Jeff gets to be me on the little display down there. So congratulations, Jeff. You're Adam.
They can't hear you. All right, let's see here.
So I'll repeat what Jeff said, just so everybody can hear us. Jeff said it is a little misleading. You see MAME 2003, and you think, "Wow, that's 22, 23 years old." It's not. It's consistently updated. It's getting updates every week.
Jeff, say something. Let's see if we got you now.
How about now?
I think we got you.
Got a thumbs up from anybody? Can you hear him now?
Say something again, Jeff. Keep saying something.
I will keep saying something until
Yep,
someone
there you go.
says,
We're good.
"Oh, there we go. Look at that." Oh, hey, look at me. I'm Adam.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix that. I'm working on it. You caught me off guard. You said you weren't gonna make it. You were in pain, so I didn't have you ready. So I'll fix it now.
I was dying, and then I was answering questions in chat, and then all of a sudden I felt better, and I'm like, let me just put the shirt on and go downstairs into the arcade and join the stream because it's easier than typing.
I told him to take a painkiller. It must have worked. Either that or a shot. I'm not sure which one, but we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
So just so everyone knows, even though Jeff is under Adam right now, which I'm going to fix, Jeff worked a lot on also like Cowboy, but he's the electronic guru. So he's the one who's putting the chips and designing the boards. Do you want to go into a little bit about the design of the Viper Venom's board and the challenges or things you had going on with that?
Tariffs have been rough on everybody. Prototypes importing, it's very expensive to get parts these days. But most of the challenges have been with like Cowboy and Adam, right? Because they're doing the bulk of the work of actually getting the board to actually work, getting all the components on the board working and functioning, and finding flaws in the board and reporting that back. And then we go back and have to redesign and change things.
And Jeff, I think you have your notifications turned on your phone when you join, because we can hear it. It's super loud.
Yes.
Just FYI.
So while I'm still trying to fix this, I'll give you another question. Anyone can take this if they want. One of the big things on the Build-A-Cade FU is that rotating screen. And you want to go into how we're going to be implementing that in your operating system, how that's going to work in theory. I know you guys are they're still actually waiting for their dev board, which we're getting to them relatively soon. But in theory, you want to describe how you're going to implement that and what's going to work on the R-Cade OS.
I remember when you first posted a video of how that looked and how that worked, and Jeff's immediate comment was, "I am fucking buying that." It's like we loved the idea from the start. So we're like, we wanted that and we wanted to see that happen. And how it works in the background is pretty simple. From an OS perspective, user-based perspective, probably is better to explain. And that's the system will have a toggle that you can say, I want this game to run rotated or not. And you can specify, I want it rotated or not rotated. When you start the game, R-Cade will say, oh, you told me to run this game as rotated. It'll send that signal out and it'll auto rotate, just like you see in that video there. And it should be automatic for certain games. We won't know it for all games, but if there is a game that isn't automatic, it doesn't have that setting already there, then you as a user can say, I want this game to be rotated. It will not only rotate the screen, but then it also therefore has to rotate in software to display the whole screen sideways, right? Now that setting was actually added in, I think, this past version for being able to rotate. Might only be in, I might be speaking out of turn. It might only be for the whole system as opposed to per game. But if there isn't, there'll be a per game setting for rotation for when that compatibility gets all finalized.
And the rotation, we initially worked on rotation in R-Cade for the At Games Legends Mini, which has sensors and it knows when you turn the thing around. And we had to do quite a bit of work to actually make that work in R-Cade, and maybe 3 people used it, but we are absolutely excited that Glenn made something that's a lot more usable. And, you know, credit to Glenn and his team when they were describing to us like how it was going to work. We were kind of like, that seems a little complicated. Can we simplify it? And is there a way that we can make it much easier for us to detect the orientation so we can just, when it's booted up, we know, is it landscape? Is it portrait? So we can set the system up right away. And like, they took that feedback and basically implemented all the changes that we kind of recommended.
Again, move to Jeff, I don't know if you were hiding behind the backgrounds and joined or not. That's what I was talking about before. Is the good thing about all of us here is we have the knowledge, but we also are not so big that we don't listen to suggestions. The worst problem I've come across with working with a lot of companies is you give them a suggestion and they don't want to hear it. Our way is the right way. And I don't think that way. I know you guys don't think that way. Everyone has a different viewpoint on things. And the beauty about us is we can sit back and say, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Let's see if that's a better way of doing it. And we're always open to that. And I was appreciative you guys even gave us those suggestions because, again, sometimes I give my ideas and things get lost in translation because obviously a lot of my team is in China. So it's sometimes hard to articulate. I can't speak half the time right anyway. I mean, Jesus, I mean, look at me. But the ideas are here and we're able to bounce off one another. And that's a beautiful thing. The real challenge, like I said, is this isn't a full-time job. This is more a labor of love at this point. Of course, we would love to become a company where we could do this full-time, but still listen to the users, still be small enough to say, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. Or, you know what? That's not the way they should be treated. Or we should be doing things differently to make sure that people are having a better experience. That's where we are at. And that's kind of, I think, all of ours. And correct if I'm wrong. I'm speaking for Adam, Jeff, and Cowboy here. But that's kind of like just how we are as people. We want to make sure you're enjoying these things. We want to make sure you're having fun with these things. We want to keep these systems alive for you, and maybe not for my kid, because we all know my kid's going to throw my shit on the front lawn when I die. It's going to get here before it gets destroyed. But a lot of kids will enjoy playing Streets of Rage or NFL Blitz or these games on these old consoles. 10-yard fight. I mean, how great was 10-yard fight? You want to keep these games alive, and you want to give a good experience with that. And I do ramble on a lot, and I apologize. Another question I had just for you guys really is, I see a lot of people always asking about, you know, what happens if a new version of R-Cade comes around. Now, I've already explained it a few times that it's pretty much done from within the operating system. But if you guys want to elaborate more on new versions having to take the SD card out and reformat it, you want to go into that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. I want to back up and say that, Glenn, I think the thing you really struggle with when you type is actually your voice to text is the worst of it all. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
It is. Oh man, I've gotten in trouble. I've gotten in trouble. Even HR one time, I was communicating to HR, and it was supposed to say cook. That's not what went through to HR. But that was a long time ago. In a galaxy far,
Oops.
far away. Yeah, a little oops.
I like the comment that I saw in chat from Sean. Glenn fights for the user because it's in my mind. I mean, first off, quote, great, brilliant quote from Tron. But I will say that conceptually, I like the idea. This needs to be a system that's designed for our users, by our users. And to Glenn's point, if you have an idea, whether it's, hey, this isn't working right, or I've got an idea, can we improve this? Can I add this feature? Let us know. We genuinely want to do these things. We want to do what benefits the community. Please. So please don't be shy. We encourage all of you to reach out in that respect. As far as the upgrades are concerned, you should not have to ever, quote unquote, ever reinstall R-Cade on an SD card or USB, however you're booting R-Cade. I see some questions in chat I'll kind of touch on at the same time. It is a free to download piece of software. You can't go and download the OS install for the Viper only because that OS install includes a licensed game, and I can't distribute that for free, right? Because that would be illegal. So, but it is included as the operating system on any purchased Viper, and therefore includes that game as well. But for other boards that it's fully compatible with, you can log onto the GitHub page and download and just flash it to a USB drive, depending on how it's booting, or an SD card, or an eMMC, depending on how you want it to run the operating system. All of the upgrades and new releases are delivered over the air. You shouldn't have to ever reflash unless you have a problem and something malfunctions. There's various backups in place to try to recover automatically from a failed upgrade as well. So hopefully that won't happen. Worst case scenario, I can get you fixed. I've had a couple of users that have reached out with they had an upgrade failure in the middle of the process, whether it was a power outage, an internet outage, right in the middle of the upgrade, whatever happened. But I will say that I'm able to work with anyone that has an issue like that and help to get that resolved. And I've done that in the past, and we'll continue to do so. That's part of what we do. We want to support our users.
And I will say the R-Cade OS is pretty robust, like you said, with if there's a failure point to get it installed on there. We have a few different ways. They're really not that difficult. One maybe take a couple of steps, but unless the board is actually fried beyond recognition. And in fact, Adam, I had a couple of Vipers that we had other test operating systems on there, and I wanted to use them again. I couldn't do anything. Adam goes, do this, do this, do this. Bam! An R-Cade took over, wiped out any corruption on the internal eMMC, and did it. So that is a beautiful thing. And again, there will be tutorials and other things coming down through the pipeline once we have time to do those type of things. But the beautiful thing about the YouTube community is as people get this, like Wagner's Tech Talk, he does phenomenal videos. And I partnered with him in the past. We're very good friends. And he's already said he will continue to do R-Cade tutorials with different things. So that's the beautiful thing about it. The other one is, and this is something I really take my hat off to all three of them, is a lot of this stuff is a point-click menu selection, where in other systems you got to really dig deep into Emulation Station or keyboard commands. A lot of stuff is really just go into one of the menus and you look and you pick it, bam, and you have it there. And I have a couple questions that came through, but I do want to bring this up one more time and discuss it because it comes up so many times. People say to me, Glenn, how do I get games? How do I get games for this? So I'm going to let Adam, Jeff, or Cowboy answer this because I know what I will say, but they'll probably say it in a more licensed, correct way. So I'll let you guys do. How can we get games on the R-Cade operating system? When I get this and I put this whole thing together, am I going to have any games to play? I'll let you guys take over from there.
So yeah, that's obviously it's a big question. Everyone asks, how do I get games on this? Why I buy this thing? Why didn't it come with 10,000 games, 200,000 games? Like I see these things on Amazon or eBay where I go out and buy cards and systems with hundreds of thousands of games pre-installed on them. The downside about going out and getting that is support. You that is not legal to do. So if you purchase a system that has all of these games on it, you're not going to be able to get support. Okay, you're also going to have out of the 200,000 games, you're going to have 150,000 of them that you've never heard of, will never play, and are in other languages in the first place. So it's not a huge benefit. Directly to the question, how do you add games to R-Cade? There, I've got to, of course, preface it like Glenn said, legally. Only add games that you legally have rights to add, please. And you agree to it when you use R-Cade in the first place. What does that mean? It means you own the cartridge, the disc, whatever the case is. You actually own a copy of the game, in which case you are legally entitled to install it on there. There's multiple ways to do so. The easiest way to add for a lot of the systems, especially MAME, is to go into the built-in game downloader. Now, again, you will be asked to agree. Only install the games that you legally can actually have the rights to do so. But when you do, you just search by system, and then you'll be given a paginated list of built-in games. And it's easy to miss that if you don't know what a game particularly is, you can hit the select button, and it will bring up a description of the game in the game downloader prior to downloading it. And I know it's kind of a quote-unquote hidden feature, but it's listed at the bottom. In any event, select the games that you want to download. And when you're done, you can select if you want to download them to the internal storage or to an external storage, whether it's a USB drive or an SD card or whatever the case may be. And then that will immediately also, using the game downloader, scrape the game detail. So you'll have all the details of the game, the description of it, the box art, and in some cases, even the video for it that will play while you're browsing your game list. That's the easiest way. Without going into too much detail, there are other ways for copying games over the network. You can just do the shared network drive, accessing it directly. Also, Jeff came up with this fantastic utility called the web file browser. You can enable it in the system menu by going into advanced networking settings. And when you turn it on, you can browse the network share on R-Cade using your web browser, like Chrome, Edge, Firefox, whatever you're using.
Very nice feature.
It'll even tell you right there on the screen, go to this website right here, http:/. It'll take you directly to your R-Cade box from your browser. You'll log in using the standard login for R-Cade, which is root and retro. And then you're looking at the exact same thing you'd see as if you were copying games over the network share. And at this point, you can drag and drop games directly to where they belong. You can add system BIOS. You can move files around. And as a benefit, this utility functions as a support tool as well for us. If you have a system that is just not working right and we can't easily navigate how to help you, you can enable only on demand. It is not enabled by default, but on demand, you can enable a support feature that gives us access to that screen that you see when you open up the web file browser so that we can then navigate your home tool, your home drive there on R-Cade. And we can pull logs. We can run some commands. And again, that's disabled by default. You have to manually enable it and give us the code to access it. So it's fully secured and it's encrypted. And it's a fantastic support tool in the cases that there is a problem that we need to help out with.
So there are also systems that we support in emulation where if you have the physical copy, you can just copy it right to R-Cade in the right system folder. And these are things like DOSBox, right? So if you have like old DOS games, you have the floppy. If you still have a floppy drive, you can stick the thing in your computer and copy the files over, and you can get that working in R-Cade. Cartridge-based games, like you need specific hardware to rip those cartridges. If you have the cartridges, which you should, if you have those cartridge-based readers, you'll get the ROM format and you can copy them on legally.
And another question people talk about is open bore. And it is so easy to get open bore games running on R-Cade. When you generally download open bore, you get all these different files. You get all these different files. You only need one file from the open bore directory and to copy it over into the folder on R-Cade and get those running. So some of these are very easy to do, not a lot of hard. Other ones like Scum, I love Scum games like Maniac Mansion, Zach McCracken. That's not really hard, but the naming convention has to be right. And I actually told that to Jeff and Adam back in the day. I'm not sure if that's been adjusted, but I've already got mine all fixed up and they play really well. Um, but they've done things that most people don't do, like built into the Arcade OS. There's demo versions of like Doom, Doom 3, Duke Nukem 3D. Now, Adam, do you want to talk about what you've done with like Duke Nukem 3D?
Sure.
Because that's kind of cool.
It's actually very unique to Arcade. I personally am very passionate about Duke. I will slightly correct you in the fact that shareware of Doom 3 isn't there, but there is some share versions of Doom and Doom 2. There's also the shareware version of Quake. All of those are included out of the box. I was an old school FPS first-person shooter myself back in the day, and I loved playing all those things. So Quake 3, Quake 2, Duke Nukem, all of those I love, and they're all included in Arcade. Duke Nukem was something that I'm especially connected with. I had so much fun playing that as a kid, and I really wanted Arcade to run on it. It was something I'd always wanted to find the time to do. I ported 2 cores, so there's eDuke 32 as well as FDuke, both of which run on Arcade, so you have the option of doing so. They've got different pros and cons of each. Read the README file in the ROMs. It'll tell you a little bit more about the differences as far as compatibility goes. But for eDuke 32, I went through the trouble of adding network play. So you can play your old school Duke matches like you used to back in the day. I reached out to the community for the eDuke folks and said, this doesn't work. Why doesn't this work? And they said, oh, it's been broken for a long time. There's a fork of it called NetDuke. And if you want to do that, you can. It's available, totally different server, totally different service, totally different emulator at this point. But it is available. And I said, well, let me investigate that. The downside of NetDuke is you need to know exactly how many people are joining your server. You need to know who they are when you start that. And I said, that's not going to work for me. I want this to work exactly like NetPlay does. I want to start a server and I want to let people join, right? So I took the time. It took a lot of rewrites and a lot of rework and patching of the code. But now you can start a game in Duke Nukem, and then anyone on your local network or on the internet can join. To join over the network, over the internet, you'll need to do some firewall magic and port forward some requests. But from your local network here in your house, no need for that. Just join right to the IP, and they join as the next player. I've tested it with 3 players, not 4, but I'm confident all 4 will work. So
I love playing them. I suck at them all. Good, Jeff.
Yeah, so there's also like developers currently developing games for old systems. You can buy right now on Steam Magic Mages. It's usually on sale for like $4 or $5, and it plays in a Nintendo emulator. It's a modern game for the NES. They're coming out with new games for the Coleco all the time. There are open source versions of games, and there's games that you can buy on itch.io that you can copy into Arcade.
Homebrew is a big thing, absolutely, to Jeff's point.
Speaking of homebrew, got to talk about Heavy Metal Titans, and Heavy Metal Titans Blood Rage will be coming out in 2026, starring moi. I'll be in that game. Just a little plug right there. I got to do that.
Give us more information. What does that mean? You'll be in that game? Are you like a hidden? You got to get a secret area.
In Heavy Metal Titans, the first game, I'm the general, so I am basically Bowser of that game. I'm the bad guy, and in Heavy Metal Titans 2, I'm the badder guy. Don't F with this guy. I know I look like a scrawny guy with small arms, man, but you don't want to mess with the general. So Heavy Metal Titans 2 will be coming out in 2026, and it's basically a full motion video side scroller, where the first one was more like cartoon animated. This one is real live action. They were out a few months ago. I'm running on treadmills. I'm falling on mattresses. I'm throwing myself all over the place. So it's gonna be a great game. I had a lot of bruises from this game. And we have a lot of wrestlers that are going to be in the game as well. So there's going to be a lot of surprise in Heavy Metal Titans 2. Blood Rage, not going to beat me, though. Me and my dragon got defeated the first time, but I still got away. Getting this one. And not to switch gears, after I plug myself as usual, I had a question here about how is the OS going to handle the control panel swaps? Because obviously one of the big things about the FU, and even the 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade, is we have these interchangeable control panels. I'll let these guys answer that. I know what I said, but I'm going to let them answer it the right way because Glenn gets excited and sometimes over talks. So, how are we going to handle the control deck swaps, trackballs, and the flight yoke and so forth?
So, real quick, just to address the question I saw in chat before I get to that, is that yes, net play works as well. Not just to kind of touch on that. You can also join any of the RetroArch cores too. And in this upcoming version, you no longer need to open a port in your firewall. It'll use a man-in-the-middle server that RetroArch added, so that you can just simply join on the internet. So yes, that is supported.
That's awesome.
Also, there have been a couple controller questions that we might just want to address right off the bat.
For sure.
Go.
Because it's along the same lines. R-Cade has built-in support for maybe like 1,000 controllers, definitely like all the popular ones, Xbox, 8-bit though, and of course any of the vendors that we work with, like Glenn, we support all of Glenn's hardware. And it's all plug and play. R-Cade, when you plug something in, it knows what it is and it sets everything up for you.
And just to add on to that, if it doesn't know what you plugged in, is that what you're going to say?
I was just going to say that, yeah.
If you plug something in and it doesn't have your mapping, it'll pop up and say, hey, I don't know what this is. You want to configure it? And you click yes, and then it'll ask you, okay, just hit these buttons in this order. It'll remember that forever. And then at that point, it will configure every game that you launch automatically. You'll never have to map that controller again.
And Wes said it here perfectly. Awesome. Boom. Right
so, Glenn, to address your question, how are we going to handle these swapping decks? Same thing. When you plug in a different deck, the R-Cade system will recognize the unique identifier of the deck that is connected. It should function the same as plugging in a different controller, whether it's an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller. They have GWIDs, which is just a unique identifier for the hardware. R-Cade says, oh, I know what this is, and this is how I talk to it. A means this, B means this. Every button you press equates to a different code, and R-Cade has those built in. So for Glenn's decks, we'll know what all of those button codes are up front, so that when you plug them in, R-Cade will, quote unquote, just work.
Another question that came through, I know you did answer it in the chat, but we'll talk about it again. A lot of people do ask about Steam support, but you guys support Moonlight. Do you want to explain? People may not know what Moonlight is. And Steam support?
Yes. Yeah. Moonlight is very similar to what was it called? NVIDIA released it, and I can't think of what it was called right now, but it's basically screen mirroring. So originally it was designed for NVIDIA, only for the NVIDIA GPUs, but has since you've got open source options that you can install and run it basically on any machine. So if you have a Steam game that runs on your desktop machine, and it just takes too much power to run on your arcade cabinet, or heck, if you just want to watch a movie that's playing on your Netflix on your machine and you want to stream it to your arcade cabinet, whatever the case may be, you can do that too. You'll install a piece of software on your desktop called Sunshine. There's actually a couple options, but Sunshine's the one I'd recommend because I've tested it. And when you install that and you create the server on that side, you'll just pair Moonlight to it. And Moonlight functions just like a client. You'll say, what's the IP address of my desktop? Go pair. You have a little pin you type in, and it says, okay, yep, you're definitely the right person to talk to this. And at that point, you can then connect to the various games that you've set up on your server. So for example, on my desktop, I have my browser set up as a game, and I might want to just browse the internet using my Chrome on my desktop. So when I connect to that from my arcade cabinet, I can say, connect to Moonlight, connect to Chrome. It goes and opens Chrome automatically on my machine, shares it to my arcade cabinet, and then I can move my mouse around, and I have a little remote controller that I use for the keyboard. So, but you can do that with games too. It will pass all your games through as well. So if you're launching a game like a Steam game, you can play that fully remote.
Excellent. Another question from Scott B, and this one I get a lot as well, is will there be more games added to the game system downloader? Is that something coming in the future, being thought about?
So I will give a huge call out to our community here. I saw, I think it was Little Alien posted some links to our Discord, and that's fantastic. So thank you for doing that, because the community is driving all the stuff you see in the game downloader. They create game packs on archive.org, which has a DMCA exemption clause, which is how we can actually host these games. They are not hosted by the R-Cade server, nor will they ever be.
Or
but
myself.
because
We don't touch them. Nothing.
no, that's a whole bag we're not going to open. But the game downloader sources them from archive.org. And the community is fantastic on building some of these for us. As the community builds more game packs for us and provides us with those links on archive.org, then we'll add them to the game downloader. The game downloader is very advanced in what it can do. It can handle a ton of different stuff. In fact, it can pull things from multiple sources, multiple packs on archive, and put them together into the same downloaded system for you. So it has a lot of compatibility there, and we can expand that. If anyone listening wants to build a game list and a game pack and upload it to archive.org, especially if it includes metadata and pictures and all that and scraped data, do it. Let us know, post the link, we'll review it, and if it all checks out, we'll add it to the game download for everyone to use. The same applies to themes, not just games.
Excellent. Thank you. This question is actually for me. It's from Meatball Saucy. Question, can we talk? Oh, no, I did that one already. It was Mr. Clutch. If we already supported the Kickstarter and purchased the FU, is it too late to back and add certain decks? What we're telling people is if you already did a pre-order and you want to change your decks or move anything around, send an email to us at thunder6studios.com to our sales there, and we can adjust it. We can remove a deck, or we can get something that you want added. I would say don't change what we did on the Kickstarter. Leave that as it is. That's the best price with everything, and we can remove or add something to you on the side, if you will. So just send an email to sales@thunder6studios.com. It's right on the Thunder 6 Studios website, and just say this is my order number, and this is what I need to have done if possible, and we'll work with you on that. If that answers your question, I hope it did. And if you guys have any other questions, please post it now or forever hold your peace. I will say to Cowboy, Jeff, or Adam, if there's anything that hasn't been brought up, but something you kind of wanted to talk about, the Venom or R-Cade OS or the FU and what you're working on, please feel free.
So I think Jason posted the link to our Discord in the chat. So if you do have any questions after the show, specifically for R-Cade, you can join the Retro Center Discord where we answer any of your questions about R-Cade.
There is a channel specific to GRS. So if you're asking questions about the Viper or the Viper Venom, that would be the channel to ask them in. Please try to not to post them in random R-Cade general channel. It's just not as organized. Keep us organized there. We're excited about the Venom. I think as far as where that can go to, as far as the additional systems, I personally am very excited to see how PS2 performs on it when we do that in the next potential coming revision. But I will say Wii and GameCube both play super good on that, and that's coming out in this next release.
I've been playing a lot of Wii on there, and there's this one game on there that I still cannot believe was released on a Nintendo console. It was a version of House of the Dead. I'm trying to remember the name of it now, but it was like XXX rated. I don't know if you've ever seen this game. It was House of the Dead. If anyone in the chat, Jason Little Ellen probably knows, but literally there is more cursing, there is nudity, the overkill. Thank you. House of the Dead overkill. Tim Bailey 42 got. This game is as close to X-rated a game I've ever seen in my life, and it came out on a Nintendo console. So if you have not played that game, don't keep your kids out of the room. Definitely, highly recommend the game. It shocked me. I went out and I bought that game. It blew me away. It's a fantastic version of House of the Dead, and it's like a B movie. Like everything's like yo motherfucker, and it's and a Nintendo. It just blows my mind that they're doing that. And at the end, I don't want to give away the ending, but you're gonna basically give a what the f did I just see happen? It's that insane. Again, on a Nintendo console.
It sounds fantastic. It wasn't Leisure Suit Larry ported to some of the old consoles too. I mean, I know it runs on Xbox.
This House of the Dead Overkill is on such a different level. Again, it wouldn't faze me if it was on like a PlayStation or any other console. The fact that this got released on a Nintendo officially licensed game, and it's from Sega. It was a Sega game released from Nintendo. Maybe it was Sega saying, you know what, we lost the console war, so we're going to do this on your console. That the ending alone, what happens there is just gonna be like, what did I just see? What did I just play? It's just gonna be like, what? It's a great game. Highly recommend it.
One of the things I want to make sure I throw out there too, because it's not something that comes up very often when we're talking about R-Cade, so I just want to make sure we just touch on it even for a second, is that it does have full media center capabilities. And I know it's not super common to do on like a arcade cabinet, but it includes Kodi, and Kodi has HD decompression, so or decoding rather. So especially on this new release for the R-Cade 3566 and 3588, we've added hardware decoding for your 4K high definition videos, so they'll play faster. But you can stream everything with Kodi. I have R-Cade in virtually every TV of the house in this place, and we stream everything off the internet on that. I don't have a cable bill anymore because that's what we use to stream all of our TV shows, all of our music. It saves us a lot of time and money in that respect. So I want to make sure I mention that is a feature that gets glossed over pretty quick.
Yeah, I do, and I'm surprised I didn't say that myself because I used to have media PCs throughout the house. That's what I used to have. I got rid of cable a while ago, and now I have Vipers all over the place. Arcade, and a 2 or 3 terabyte hard drive attached, and I have all my songs and stuff on them. So it's really really cool that it does have that. And we had another question here, which where did it go from Dr. Torque? I think it was. Oh yes, Dr. Torque's wanting to know this for a while. Have we pinned down the RAM on the Viper Venom room for onboard expansion? He wants to know basically how much RAM onboard storage. Now remember, as far as storage goes, you can always expand with a micro SD card, USB thumb drive, or a hard drive. I have right over here a Bobby Vu 2 terabyte hard drive connected to the Viper Venom. But onboard RAM, is there anything we can talk about that or not? That's up to you guys if you want to discuss it.
We're
I do
still working out details with Glenn and his team about what the spec on the RAM will be. We have options. It is not upgradable though. The way that these systems are designed, the RAM needs to be soldered directly next to the CPU, and it can't be a module. You'll have too much signal loss. We can't do expandable RAM modules on these SBCs like this.
We will definitely gather the family. Cammy, come back to New York. You've been to the States, so I'll fly out to you, and we'll put some movies on the house, and we'll watch some great stuff with the Venom. Another question for me from Andreas over here, Rivera. He wants to know if we're going to put in USB ports at the bottom of the FU for the gas brake and potential clutch pedals we're making for the steering wheels. And no, they will go up to the control deck. They will go up top. We may include maybe USB extender cables to go directly from maybe the Viper Venom's ports and drop down below, but there won't be any specific ports at the base. But yes, the steering wheels, I always say we need to have at least a gas and brake at least. And I finally convinced my team to do that. And we're trying to do that again at no cost. We're going to try and get metal pedals, not plastic, metal pedals, gas brake, maybe clutch, on there. So that's stay tuned. Definitely keep an eye on the Kickstarter. And again, I wanted to mention real quick, I didn't talk about it this whole time, was that we still have about 22 days to go on the Kickstarter, and we still have some great deals on there. We still have some of the $9.99, which I'm surprised wasn't the first to go. I am so stoked for that rotating screen myself. That's the one I want bad. I think we still have about 20 of those. We still have some 26 inches. So if you want to get in, you have 22 days left, and some people wait till last minute. The Christmas shopping thing, you wait till that last minute. The only bad thing is you might miss out on the one you wanted. It might be gone. So definitely, if you want to back it, back it. We're going to stick by our guns with the tariff. So as if the tariff goes down for the people who purchase the early bird specials, which is the $9.99 rotating and $1,200 26-inch, if the tariff goes down, we will refund. I'm sorry, that's the only one that doesn't. I got it backwards. The $9.99 and $1,200 do not get the tariff refund because we ate that. For the $1,200 and $1,400 and above, if the tariff goes down, we will refund that difference. Make sure I get that right here. Super drinking margaritas. See that's what happens. We'll reduce the amount of the tariff. But again, we are going to make sure when this thing gets released, you will have the best hardware, the best operating system, and the best experience in Arcade that's going to make everyone out there FOMO and be jealous that didn't get one during the Kickstarter. I'm still working a lot with my team. I'm obviously working still with Jeff, Adam, and Cowboy to make sure that the operating system's there. And I know Jeff, they're waiting on us for a couple of things. And I know that. They're waiting for the rotating screen and a couple of things. We're just finalizing that because we're trying to make it not only as robust, it's pretty solid as well, but we want to make sure it's really robust. But if there is a problem, no matter how hard you make things good, there's always a potential of something going wrong. We want to make sure it's easily repairable, fixable, with getting parts, and very easy to do. We don't make it complicated. Want to make it very easy. Um, so we'll be getting that relatively soon. I was hoping to have a prototype FU to take to the Long Island Gaming Expo, which is actually next Saturday, and that's just not going to happen. It's just not going to get here in time. The boat alone takes like a month, but I want to make sure I get this out there as well. For people who did order the R-Cade Ultimate Control Panel and the KVM Viper with the R-Cade OS, which again, that was when we first released that. We didn't have the audio working with the volume buttons. Adam, Jeff got that working. They did a software update. Now that was working. So that's things that we do, small things. We'll still go back and fix. That is on the boat already. That should be in Jersey relatively soon, and it should start shipping out before the end of this month. So if you did back the final and third release of the KVM for the R-Cade, you will be able to have the Viper and R-Cade OS running on there. And if you go into the forums for the R-Cade, or if you go into the forums for the At Games and just look up people who run R-Cade OS, they love it. It's such a game changer. And Adam, Jeff, and Cowboy should be very proud of themselves for doing this. Now, I will say this, like Adam said before, everyone works as a team in the community. So this stuff that they built on, but R-Cade OS is still something that they took on the RK35, RK38 chipset. And you actually have another machine. You have your own, if you want to talk about that as well, on your website, you have your own TV top box as well. Do you want to talk about that real quick? 'Cause that's still for sale.
Sure, it is actually. I'll mention a few things, but I also figure there's everybody's been hanging out. For those of us that are still here and watching, Glenn, why don't you hold up that Venom that you got in your hand there? You haven't actually shown
I'll
it.
do one better. Let's do this over here. Got to find it here. Da, da, da. Give me 1 second to
Well,
find
while
it.
you do that, I'll point out that this is what's in the Retro Center store, and this is a rock box, and it's a little set top box. It's got the Rock Chip 3328 in it, which is an older chipset, but it gets the job done in most systems. It struggles a little tiny bit on the very very demanding games for the higher resolution games for Dreamcast and the higher resolution games for PSP, but in general, it'll do most things, especially when it comes to streaming. So I've got one of these in every room of the house. And the Retro Center store will be getting a newer version of this coming. It won't be a rock box. It'll be something different, but it'll also have an upgraded chipset in it. So it'll run everything a ton faster. So keep your eyes open for that. That's coming soon.
So here is the Viper Venom, the prototype. This is not the final version, it's the prototype. And here is a Raspberry Pi. You can see right here, size is just about, well, I'll get it on this side, you can see a little bit better. It's just about the same, but the performance on here is, you can look up yourself, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go online, look up a RK3588 chipset versus a Raspberry Pi 5, and every single part of the RK3588 chipset, even though it's an older chipset, uh, still trounces even the Pi 5, let alone a Pi 4 or below. So performance on there. Now, this is currently running with a heatsink, but I think the design is really going to be more with an active cooling system on there. But again, this is just a prototype, and this is the screen for the Build-A-Cade, and this works great. So you can plug this in, and you can switch between the two, whether you want to have it running on an external display or the built-in display for the Build-A-Cade. I actually have already tested this in my Build-A-Cades. It works great in there. Of course, I'm an idiot. I take my Sinden light guns and I play House of the Dead on my 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade little screen here like that. There we go. Boom. And we got the Matrix logo going down. Now, is that running the regular Viper, or you got a Viper Venom, or you got something else in there right now?
No, actually, you have my only Viper Venom. So this is actually the normal Viper.
I twisted his arm really hard. I really twisted his arm really hard. And there was a couple of questions here. One was if I'm going to the Long Island Gaming Expo. My original plan was to go for the 3 days and have the FU there with the Old School Gamer magazine. So my plan now, since it's not here, I'm probably going to go just on Saturday because I have plans next Friday night. Unfortunately, I will not be able to have a show next week. I'll be out at a Renegades game watching the local team. But then I'll be going Saturday, probably with Glenn Baisley, and I think Retro Bill is going out that day. So I'll be there at the booth for the Old School Gamer magazine. Um, the Viper, Paul saying the Viper looks more robust. Well, that's one of the things that's Jeff. Jeff working on the design. He's making sure that the board is built to be handled by regular people, and put in there and be robust. Jeff, do you want to talk a little bit more about how you've been trying to, get everything going properly on this the Venom?
Yeah. So the point of the Venom, or the original design ideas, was to put all the compute stuff on a module, and so that we can upgrade the module when we have newer CPUs that come out. If newer CPUs come out, if you wanted to upgrade memory in that case, you could potentially buy another module. It is expensive way to upgrade the memory. But then if we have different form factors of arcades, we can create different carrier boards, right? Like we're calling those IO boards, where we could potentially have like a JAMA style board where you can put it in an old school arcade, but then have it powered by the Venom module. Or have upgrade boards for other types of home arcades just powered by the Venom module itself.
And that, again, that's the beautiful thing about this. When you have someone who does this, it's a job. It is a job, but it's a passion project too. And when you have someone who does something with a passion project, you get all these cool little things that you wouldn't normally get. Like some big company will say, you don't need that, but it'd be cool to have. And that's where Jeff, Cowboy, and Adam can come in and actually make that happen. I saw another question over here. Where was it? So this is a question for you, all of you guys here. If you are, no pressure, if you were to get an FU, are you going 19-inch or 26-inch? What do you guys want?
I think I'd go 19.
I want that rotating screen.
Yeah.
How about you, Cowboy?
Kind of on the fence. I haven't really decided.
Well, here's the beautiful thing. This is the beautiful thing about it, is you can go with a 19-inch, or you can go with a 26-inch, and you can always get the other one, and just it pops out. It's just a module. You can pull out the 19-inch, drop in a 26-inch, or pull out the 26-inch and drop in a 19-inch. So again, we're going to have those modules and decks all available on Thundersix Studios website once the Kickstarter is completed and we start shipping these devices, so people can start buying other items that they may want to have. And we'll have parts and spare parts as well. Now, people keep asking me, Glenn, will there be more FUs after the Kickstarter? And I'll say maybe. The Kickstarter is going very well. It is. But I think if we do more FUs, like an FU2, it may come in like quarterly batches. Like, we're planning on doing one, say, in January. We have till March. If we do another fundraising goal, we get 200 units. We'll build those 200 units and ship it out in that quarter. I don't think it'll be a build to order type of machine. It's going to be a machine that once Kickstarter is done, we'll maybe do like pre-orders, not Kickstarter, just pre-orders on the website, because we already have all the designs done. All that stuff's been set, and we already have the parts. We'll probably do it by quarter, because it still is. Just remember, this is not a small unit. This is a full-size, 200+ pound beast of a machine that you could literally walk down to your local arcade, slide it into a spot. It's got the coin doors. You could use it there. You could. Now, I don't know legally if you can, but you could do it because the machine's designed for it. And I still have other ideas as well. Like, even though this is getting done, my ideas haven't stopped with FU, the 1/6 scale Build-A-Cade, and stuff in the middle. So I really want this to be it's much, what's funny, when I was younger, I respected Apple, but I never liked Apple because I didn't like that closed ecosystem type of thing. I'm an Android guy. I have my Android phone's right here. I got a Google Pixel 6. I like being able to hack it, but there's also a benefit to an ecosystem where you have certain stuff that just work together easily. And I basically want stuff to work from, you guys already have the set-top box on the TV set, handhelds, just putting it out there, the 1/6 scales, desktop consoles, some more things in the middle. Maybe, I don't want to say tables, but maybe a table, just a cocktail table. Just putting these things out there. So we want to have all those things. So your experience using one to the next will at least be, thanks to the R-Cade operating system, similar. Once you know one, you know them all. And the beautiful thing again is most of the stuff's in menus. Go inside the menus. Go through each one of those little menus and see what is there. There's so much to be found. It's almost like Christmas every time you go in the operating system, especially when they're doing like owning a Tesla, which I don't, but if I did, they do software updates and then something new. It could be a bug fix or maybe there's a new option being added. And that's what's really cool about this. And definitely go to the Discord. I pinned it up to the top chat here, and I'll also make sure it's in the show notes below. And just go look at the Discord for R-Cade and see what's there. Talk to the people, see how they like it. And again, if you have an At Games Legends product, R-Cade can run on there as well. It's called, I forgot the name for a second. It's R-Cade Unlimited.
Legends Unchained.
I was close. I was so far off. Legends Unchained. And
And Glenn has a tutorial video on how to install Legends Unchained for the At Games devices.
yeah, it's my dementia or Alzheimer's. I forget after 5 minutes. Well, I do videos, I forget in 5 minutes. But it's actually running on my Legends here, over here, and I don't run the regular OS on the At Games anymore. I only run the Unchained again because every time there's a new software update on the At Games, they take something away. You got to log in 15 different ways from Sunday to get what you had 2 seconds ago. It's just not worth it. You boot up on a micro SD, I boot up on a thumb drive, and everything's there. And then I can go over to my R-Cades running my Vipers, and I have the same experience. I go to my Build-A-Cades, I have the same experience. Go to my TV, same experience. That's the beautiful thing of it. Now we've kind
Now,
of got,
Glenn,
yeah.
you mentioned that you have like a 2 terabyte disk plugged into one of your Vipers, which
It's-
kind of cracks me up considering you've got all of the R-Cade running on all these different things. If you just put those on your network, you could turn on the net drive feature and all of your Vipers within your house will use the same core for configs, BIOS, games, everything. You won't have to copy them anywhere anymore.
Well, I do that because I try to do it like an end user. Every time I get a new system, I want to be a new user setting it up. I want that experience. Not to say I'm not going to do that, but right now this is my Bobby Vu special. Bobby Vu, just everyone must know who he is. Bobby Vu is a great guy in the community, and he actually made a couple of builds. He's got to take a 1 terabyte, a 1.5 terabyte, and a 2 terabyte build of ROMs that work with the Viper. Now, again, a lot of games on here are maybe too much that the regular Viper can handle, but the Viper Venom should be able to handle them. And if not, coming down the road, it will. That RK3588 chipset does have that kind of horsepower. We've gotten a little long tonight, so I don't want to hold you guys up too much. I know Jeff has had a good day today. Been in some pain.
Medicine's working well, huh?
I hope so.
It just went away like magic. I was like, okay, let's do it.
So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to go through each one of you guys for any last things you want to say or mention. And I'll start with Cowboy. He's been sitting here with his guns. Cowboy, is there anything you want to talk about with the R-Cade operating system stuff you're working on for it, or just something you want to tell people about it?
It's just a never-ending project, basically. We get in there and we always find something to optimize or improve or make better. And I gotta throw a great kudos out to the beta community too, because we've thrown them some really side curveballs here, and it just they've suffered through it, and they give us the feedback we need to actually keep going and make things better. So the community is really what it's all about.
Can't argue with that. Jeff, let's go to you next.
Yeah, so Cowboy is one of the behind the scenes wizards. We kind of had to drag him onto this stream. But like, I just want to say, like, none of the stuff that I have done with Legends Unchained would be possible without Cowboy and the work that he has done. And he's been pretty instrumental in some of the stuff that, Adam and I have worked on with R-Cade on new boards and getting things working. One of the early questions in the stream about what makes R-Cade different, like, we don't support 1,000 boards. There's operating systems out there for retro systems that support thousands of boards, and they do that good. The boards that we do support, we support 100%. The R-Cade UI, we've built in stuff specific for the device that you're running on, right? And that's like one of the main things that we focus on. When we support a board or a device, like we do it well. There are full integrations for hardware. So the stuff that we support, it's rock solid. And so, yeah, I mean, like that's what we've been trying to do with R-Cade ever since I got involved with the at-game stuff. Adam's just like ran with the torch and just kind of just kicked ass on R-Cade. As far as me, I mean, I'll give a tiny little plug for my shop, acustomRcade.com. I make mods mostly for at-games stuff. That's me.
And it's funny, you joined, I think, after I talked about it. This all really happened from you meeting me at the Cleveland Gaming Classic. That's kind of all it
Yeah.
came from. And really great chance meeting that really, honestly, none of this would have been possible without having you guys involved with T-Sticks and GRS. This would never have happened. The 1.6 Build-A-Cade would have been okay using Raspberry Pi, but it's not the same as when it's running a Viper and an R-Cade, and definitely the FU and everything else. So I got to thank all of you real quick before I go to Adam for all the hard work you guys have done, because you really took our stuff to the level I wanted it to be, and no one else was able to do that. So I thank you all for that. Adam, what do you have to say?
I could talk for an hour, and I don't want to waste anybody else's time. We're so close. I'll say that we also appreciate you, Glenn, for the opportunity and for all that you do for the community, not just our community, but the retro gaming community, the godfather of retro gaming in general. We really appreciate you for your heart in all of this. I'll also back up and say that I have learned so much from both Cowboy as well as Jeff since coming onto this project. I will say that, I've been in IT for 25 years and I still get to learn new things every day. And that's fantastic. And when I can say, guys, how do I do this? I have no idea how to even start. One of the two will have an answer for me. Oh yeah, I had to do that once. And sometimes I'll even ask, like Cowboy, for example, how do I do this? And he'll just come back with the answer. I'll say, where did you come up with this? How did you get that answer? And he'll respond with that gif of the whole guy throwing the glitter. Magic. That's what it is. Just magic. And it's like, you know what? I'm not even going to argue with him because I believe him. The man is a sorcerer. So it's incredible, the knowledge in these guys' brains. I'm very thankful to be a part of the project. It's a lot of fun in general. And if I can learn something at the end of the day, it's a win for me. So I want to thank everybody for making sure we're tuning in tonight and asking some really great questions. Looking forward to talking to more of you and follow-up questions on Discord and in future shows.
Thanks, Adam. And actually, I lied. There's one other question I want to bring up. Ford Cruz did post, do you support any other LEDs other than the Pixel-Cade?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier, actually. There was Pixel-Cade, Bit LCD, Pixel-Cade LED, I think, or LCD. And there might be one more. Jeff, do you remember? Was there another one?
So we support my encoder, and I have a RGB controller, which it supports. We include open source software called LED Spicer. The LED Spicer supports RGB controllers, like the Ultimark RGB controllers. It supports the Wolf Tech RGB controller, LED Wiz, and of course my RGB controller for the at-games Legends device.
For those of you who don't know what that means, it means you can make all the buttons on your control deck dance and look awesome.
Yeah, and one of the really cool things is if you have RGB buttons and you're playing a game that uses 2 buttons, right? The problem with multi-cades is Glenn will put 1,000 buttons on this machine, right? And you'll be using a system that maybe uses 2 or 3 buttons or 1 button. So how do you know which buttons like a particular game uses, right? It's magic, right? So with LED Spicer, there are configs that you can do and you can set up. And when you select a game, if it's in the database and it only uses one button or 2 buttons or 3 buttons, those buttons will light up in the exact color that they were on the original R-Cade. So for example, like the Street Fighter buttons will have the red, white, and blue buttons in the exact position that they were in. Mortal Kombat will have the buttons in the exact colors that they were. So the buttons specific for the game that you're playing will light up to kind of give you hints of what buttons should I be touching when I'm playing this game. And you can do other cool things like the credit button will light up and blink when you need to insert a credit. And then once you insert a credit, then the start button will blink, and you can do all sorts of cool stuff with that. Plus,
I just shared one with you, Glenn. I just shared a picture of one.
Oh, you did? Didn't come. The other picture, your picture came through. This one didn't come through.
I see it in chat.
You do? What's wrong with my chat?
Someone shared a file. You have to click download, though.
Oh, okay. Wrong chat. Too many chat windows open. Let me pull it down. I'll get it up there.
Need a bigger screen.
I got a wall of screens. That's a problem. I'm an old man with too many screens. All right, let's bring that up over here. Let's add this here.
At least you're not voice to texting, because that'd be a nightmare.
It has been. It has been. Yes, I trust the file. It's still downloading. 70%, 80%, 90%.
Yeah, and it doesn't just it doesn't just support buttons. It also supports like LED strips, your trackball. So like for Golden Tee, your trackball can light up green, for example, when you're playing a trackball game. And the cool thing is in R-Cade is even as you're scrolling through the game list, the buttons for the game, as you're moving through the menu and scrolling through the games, the buttons will change accordingly. And so like you could see, like if a game, you can configure it in a way where as you're scrolling through all the games, if a game does support trackball light up, right? So you just have this visual cue right away. Oh, this is a trackball game.
We're constantly making updates to that as well. And the configs are something you can do on your own. And then we're working to add some additional ones too.
That's really neat. That is neat. I like that. Now, real quick, can't end the show yet because we have 2 super chats come in. One from Jason, Little Alien. He wanted to say he appreciates all you guys who dropped by tonight. And always top acts and great folks. Have a great, safe weekend. So, Jason, thank you for that. And Green, Sammy, 87. For me, Godfather Gaming. Again, you guys don't have to send super chats. So I always read them out anyway, but I really do appreciate it. And I appreciate Cowboy, Jeff, and Adam for coming on tonight, especially Jeff. The poor guy was in pain before. And appreciate you being able to come on, and I hope you feel better. Nothing's worse than getting kidney stones. And look, even Kongs Rush joined real quick. So Kong, just so you know, I want you and the missus, you have to stand inside the Build-A-Cade FU and see if it can hold the weight and not break like the Tron did when Mrs. Kong stood in it. I'm still putting that challenge in there that we can stand inside the FU and it's not going to break. Just putting it out there. I'm glad you were able to join. But listen, we can go on talking forever. I really appreciate Cowboy, Jeff, and Adam's time. Definitely one of my more screwy shows today. I have too many things all over the place, and Jeff threw me off by coming in midway through the show. But that's what my show's about. My show is not a professional show. My show is a normal person, just like all of you out there, just talking to you guys as a friend, because that's what you guys are to me. You're friends, colleagues, and in the retro community, so your family. So I want to, again, Adam, Jeff, Cowboy, thank you for coming on tonight. I really do appreciate it. And I thank you implicitly for the hard work you guys have done on the R-Cade OS for the Viper and all the hard work you're putting into the Viper Venom to make it the best retro gaming console that's going to be out in the market when the FU launches at the end of this year. Again, remember, you have 26 days left. If you want to get the FU, this is your chance to get in on it. But with that being said, Jeff, Adam, and Cowboy will agree with me. As fun as this all stuff is, as much as we enjoy this, it's material stuff. It doesn't take the place of family, friends, your kids, your loved ones. Always take a moment to tell your family and friends that you love them, because you know what? Tomorrow's never promised. They could be here today. Something can happen, be gone tomorrow. Not to be morbid, it's just a fact. Let them know. Don't say it after they're gone. It's too late. Say it now. And with that, I bid you all a great weekend. Have a good night. And most of all, F you all in 2026.
Gluing on cartridges, hit and reset. 8-bit dreams, can't lose that bet. Floppy disk and arcade lights. Pac-Man, Frogger, more play. VHS tapes, staying up too late. Saturday cartoons, can't wait to escape. Dial-ups humming, we're hacking the code. Back when everything was in upload mode. Atari, Commodore, pixels on screen. Living in the future was more than a dream. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school. MTV playing our favorite jams, moonwalking with MJ, neon slam. Ghostbusters gear, we're ready to go. Chasing slasher scenes, fears in tow. Back to the future, hop in the DeLorean. Knight Rider cruising, man, there's no ignoring them. Battlestar Galactica, what a ride. Looney Tunes, antics, pure joy inside. Blockbusters ruled, we lined up for days. Video games booted up in the pixelated maze. Movie marathons and popcorn nights, we ruled the screen, living in the lights. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school, where the beats are fresh, the tech was gold. From arcades to TV shows that ruled, you know we're kicking it old school. Grab your joystick, the game's about to start. A high-score world, now that's an art. We're cruising on hoverboards, living our dream. Old school forever, we're igniting the scene. It's time to kick it old school, turn the clocks back, break the rules. When the pixels pop and the world was cool, we're taking it back, that's how we roll, we roll. It's time to kick it old school,